This is the Danger Close podcast, Beyond the Books with me, Jack Carr. Welcome to the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. In the Blood is out now. Hardcover, ebook, and audiobook. Speaking of audiobooks, my guest today is my friend, Ray Porter, narrator of all my audiobooks. And what a fantastic guy. You'll be able to tell that we are buddies, and I could not have a better person narrating this series. Such a fantastic person. He did 20 years in Shakespearean theater. He was in Modern Family, Sons of Anarchy, Argo, ER, Almost Famous, and you will know him as Darkseid in the Snyder cut of Justice League. So now, without further ado, Ray Porter.
Do you like this?
I'm liking it. It's looking good.
Not by choice.
What happened?
I'm in a movie, and I went in for the costume fitting. Kind of the last minute, makeup was checking me out, and they went, "Oh yeah, the designer wants to shave you." So they shaved most of my beard off and left me with this glorious thing. Yeah. So it's a weird look, and I haven't left the house.
You don't need to worry. You don't need to be self-conscious about anything.
Well, I've got a great face for audio.
No, stop it. That is not true. I'm doing great. But I'm not going to let you get away with saying that you have a great face for audio, because you have been in so many productions over the years, stage, film, television. So I'm not going to get you away with that. And I was going to save this for later, but I'm going to do it now.
What's that?
I mean, look at this. Look at this handsome devil.
Oh,
I mean, look at that.
Oh, yes.
Look at that guy right there.
That picture is so old, it almost classifies as a daguerreotype.
This is a great one. And then there's a couple other ones up there, actually. So I saw that.
That headshot always reminded me of some like weird Christmas album that would be in the
It does. It looks fantastic for a Christmas album cover. That is serious. You have to do that. Exactly. And then, or you could go with this, because it's kind of,
oh no, what are we doing?
Runner up, like right there. Look at that one.
I was like 4 years old. Oh my goodness.
Look at that. Did you get that at the mall?
Yes, I did. There was a boudoir 2 for 1. I went in with my dog.
Perfect.
Funnily enough, my dog got a job and I didn't.
Stop it. I mean, you're in a film right now. So that's great.
Yeah. I'm gonna wrap my part of it on Monday, and then it's back in here doing funny voices. And boy, I tell you, I loved the most recent installment of your.
Thank you.
Oh man,
thank you. Appreciate it.
You keep coming up with stuff that's like so completely different. And I think the thing I appreciate the most about your books is there's no formula.
Thank you.
Thank you. You understand.
I do.
In certain series, it becomes almost predictable. And so as you're reading it, you're like, okay, so the baddie's going to come in here.
Yeah.
And this is going to be, and you don't have any of that. It's, it's funny because your books, somebody asked me to describe your books, and I said, speed, surprise, violence of action.
I love it.
That's how you write. And
I'm writing that down right now. Speed, surprise, violence of action. Ray Porter. Yes. And that is a blurb. A Ray Porter blurb. I got it. Man. All right. We can cut this short.
But okay. See you later. Great talking to you. But I really like reading your stuff because, as you may or may not know, I don't do a ton of research before I read the books. I like it to be immediate for the listener and for me. Worked out fairly well for me. I mean, it's bitten me on the backside a couple of times in the past, but in general, there's an immediacy to it that I like. Your books, I'm like, I have no idea what's coming next, and that's what's great, and it's really wonderful. And this latest one it kicks it up a notch even. So,
man,
really,
thank you. I appreciate that. And that was, that is, I'm very cognizant of that, being a fan of the genre, being a lifelong reader, and recognizing that in all the reading that I've done from my earliest days up through today. So when I started out, I was very cognizant of the fact that I did not want to end up in that in a group that is known for just doing the same thing, and maybe because it worked, now instead of the United States, it's going to be Europe, or now instead of Europe, it's going to be Africa, or instead of there, now we're dropping China. Okay, we're dropping Colombia, but the same general thing.
Yeah, if it was a series of movies, it would be all the same actors, just with different accents and different clothes,
Yes.
What's weird is that's very comforting for a lot of people, and a lot of people love it. I mean, people who have nailed that style and in whatever genre they're in, people go for the ride. I mean, you and I both could probably name a long list of authors that, there's a formula, and for better or for worse. But I do think it eventually runs out because it's not nutritious.
Interesting.
And so when you have authors who can shake it up in big ways and small, it continues to be engaging like the first time you discovered that author, and it's immensely satisfying. So I commend you, sir, because
that means the world to me.
It's been different every damn time, with a few common threads that are delightful. And so when you come across them, you're like, there's people in your books that when they come back, you're like, oh yeah, I remember. Oh, I missed him.
That's awesome.
So it's good.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's after that first one, it would have been kind of the quote unquote smart move, would have been just to kind of regurgitate it and drop it somewhere else. But I took that risk, and I kind of thought Simon and Schuster might say, hey, you know what? You might want to cut the first part of this or the first third of this, or give me some suggestions. They've never given me any suggestions. They've never even hinted that I might want to lay off something or put a little more in. They've never given any direction. I've had complete creative control, which I sincerely appreciate. And I didn't know how it was going to be, when I stepped into this industry. But that second one in particular, a true believer, taking the character on a journey of redemption. I didn't think it was fair to the reader to just pick him up and just all of a sudden, after all the traumatic events of the first book, just to drop him into something else that was similar, but without dealing with the consequences of what just happened to him and what he did in the first novel. So,
which I think is fascinating.
That risk,
because the inner journey, it's funny. It almost makes in some cases, it almost makes the plot and the action and what's going on kind of secondary. There's this internal journey, to this quest to understand, and I mean, I think, and I can only speak theoretically about this, and so it's with respect, and forgive me if I'm wrong and my ignorance, but I think that for a lot of people who have been in your former line of work, let's say, when that's done, there's a real what now that occurs in every way. And what's great is that you do kind of bring that into your books, which I really appreciate.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was lucky in that I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And I hadn't done enough. I guess I wanted to do it from such an early age that it was still like being in kindergarten and say you want to be an astronaut, and never have anybody along the way discourage you, or if they did, never having it register that they were discouraging you. Either way, exactly. Yeah. So I just, I kept that kind of youthful enthusiasm about the whole thing with very high expectations, never thinking that that it wouldn't come to fruition as a New York Times bestselling series or a TV show or movie. So that never even really entered my consciousness.
But too, I mean, I think that guys definitely go through this. Guys who've lived long enough go through a couple of what nows in their lives, and that can be a real tough journey. And like what emerges from that can take a lot of different directions, some good and some not so great. There's something that happens to people when confronted with a major transition or a major thing. And, I would classify what transpires in your first book as a somewhat major transition. And so you have to address that in the next book, and you do it so well. And the transition continues up through this book.
Yeah.
It's what sort of a man are you going to be, and that question, and it's great. It's great.
Thank you for recognizing that, especially with all you have on your plate and all you're doing, because, I think one of the reasons this character has resonated, one, it's because I put so much of the emotion and the feelings behind what I was involved with downrange into a completely fictional narrative. But the other side is that the character is going on a journey, and it's not just the same character each and every book. He's evolving, learning, adapting, growing, just like we all are. We're all on this journey. And so to just have the same person in a different semi-different situation every book and just dropping that in, like you say, in a not very nutritious way long-term. That didn't really, that's not natural for me to do because I'm on a journey too. And I think we all are. So I think those two things, the feelings and emotions, and then that journey, having him not just be exactly the same character in every single book dealing with a different problem set, but doing that and evolving and learning and on this journey and questioning.
Yeah. I mean, I do not understand the first thing about being an operator in the sense that you know, as I said, your former line of work, but I do know what it is to be confused. I do know what it is to be confronted with trauma. I do know, you know, these are things that I can get next to. It's the humanity of it. So as an audience member, I'm able to go into that world familiar. And it's not this sort of inaccessible alabaster figurine that I just get to stand off and appreciate. I mean, I get to walk in his shoes. And pick up a lot of interesting information along the way and learn about some killer gear.
I love when you text me and you're asking me about what is this thing, tomahawk and this knife and this.
I know, but it's wonderful. And I think it's very thoughtful of you to include like sort of a catalog on your website.
Yes.
So you can go and see what these amazing, wonderful things are.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I tweeted at you the other day when you had that photograph of all
that.
that.
You did.
I'm going to need all that for research.
That's it. Yep. No, I love it. I love it. And, you know, I get asked all the time about, I mean, every day, there's not a day that goes by when someone does not mention the audiobook and the narrator. And they're like, I love Ray Porter, or they're like, who is that guy? He's fantastic. And what else has he read? And like every single day that happens. And I get asked about your process quite a bit. And luckily we have talked and we know each other and we're friends, and I can answer somewhat like you said.
I give you permission to answer for me.
Yes. Thank you. But I do because you do that for yourself. I mean, everybody knows you and your voice, and if they don't know you yet, they know your voice. That happens quite a bit as well. They just, because they're so used, they feel like they know you and they know your name because they're so familiar with your voice. But then when someone brings it up, it's like, oh, that's who that is. Oh, you know what? I think I've listened to like 10 or 15 books that he's read.
This has been probably the most satisfying thing for me being an audiobook narrator, because I've always been an avid reader, voracious from the moment I could read, and literally everything. And oftentimes have 3 or 4 different books on the go, you know, at the same time. One of my favorite things in the world to do with friends is to be like, oh, you should try to read this book and just see what they do. In a weird way, that's kind of happened in my career, because people will say, you know, I really liked this book that you narrated, and so I went looking for other titles of yours, and this is not stuff I ever would have chosen for myself, but I loved it. And it's great because you're introducing, you know, it's like cooking for somebody. You know, have you ever had, you know, octopus? No, try it. Oh, I love this. And you've broadened things for them a little bit. And that's a great thing to do.
And that happens to you too. You have read books that you wouldn't normally have picked off the shelf to read on your own. Is that right?
Totally. There's a lot of books that I've narrated and loved that I never would have, you know, if I was standing in, you know, I guess Barnes and Noble isn't really a thing. I guess they kind of
it's
are.
Still there. It's still, yeah.
I was standing in a Borders, let's say, because sadly they're gone. I used to love going to Borders, but you know, I would just pass it by on the shelf. I wouldn't think twice about it. So narrating it, I've been exposed to whole new genres. I've been introduced to amazing, wonderful things. I mean, I think you and I talked, one of our early conversations. Part of the reason why I was so stoked to do your book was that a long time ago, I had listened to the audiobooks and read the books of Richard Marcinko. And, you know, it was great because it was such an outside my own understanding.
Yeah.
And really fun in that way. So it was great to read yours. Obviously, very, very different gravy, your work. But there's that fun element to it, and it is fun. And you managed to do that so well. So it's always a pleasure to read your stuff. Have you heard the latest one at all?
I have not yet. I've heard the first, maybe the prologue only. I think they sent me the download, but I've been running around like a crazy person, so I've not listened to the whole thing yet. And I can't link my phone. My car, the kids get in the car and they press buttons, and then my phone's not linked when I get in there. And it's like I'm trying to figure these things out.
But how technically complex are the Land Cruisers really?
I'm not talking about that one. So
Okay,
that one doesn't have a link. Or the new one might actually.
I saw your photo the other day. You've got an 80 series now.
80 series now, and of
That's
course
one
that one, that one's nice. But this one I looked for a longest time, and because I wanted that 97, which is the 40th anniversary edition,
right? The triple locked and all that.
Yep, exactly. You know,
yes. I know.
Nice. Yeah, triple locked from the factory.
Yeah,
and so I looked around, finally found one. It was like in one day over the summer, 3 people sent me this link at almost the same time.
Oh my god!
Like they found one, 2 people I knew and 1 person I didn't know, and and it was like, wow, okay, and so I got it, and
that's so good.
Yeah, now it needs a new engine. Yeah.
No, really?
Yeah.
Whoa, really?
Yeah. So I need to figure out, I need to go talk to Cruiser Kurt down in Salt Lake here and get his professional opinion, have him look at it and see if
thinking about an LS swap.
If I have to do it, it's either I can rebuild it maybe, or I can just put in a LS3 or something. So I'm going to get his professional opinion and see what I should do. My intent was to keep the original engine and then build it out overlanding style and do the whole thing.
Ultimately what I'd love to do too.
Yeah. So I was planning on doing all of that. And then my daughter was driving it and she's like, Dad, this thing's shaking quite a bit. I was you're fine, And then when she got home, I took it out. I'm like, oh, this thing is shaking quite a bit. So,
honestly, it may be the very first time I've heard of an engine failure on those. That's
it does have quite a few miles on it.
Is it in the 3s?
It is creeping up on 3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only ones you can find now.
Yeah.
I mean, literally every one that I see that's well outside my price range anyway, but I still look all the time. That's way up high, but I'm surprised.
I know. So anyway, we'll see. Maybe that's on my list of things to do in the coming months.
Of course.
It's to get back to that, but I have the 40 sitting outside now. So that one was done by TLC 4x4 Icon. So that one it's the original engine, but it looks like it's brand new. It looks like it's off the factory floor. So that one is nice.
And then the 60 is still hanging tough.
Yeah. The FJ62 has that LS3 in it. So that thing moves.
Oh, you do have an LS3 in that
one. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the one I think has because I wanted to keep the inside looking old, but I think it does have a newer stereo system thing in it, even though it kind of blends into everything, but I have never linked to it. And I probably need to do that with my Bluetooth or something. I need to figure that out.
That's a whole other thing, man. Yeah. Bluetooth drives me bananas.
Well, in this last book, you probably don't even want to link up to Bluetooth anymore. I did a lot of research into artificial intelligence and quantum computing and went down that rabbit hole and learned quite a bit. Kind of like with the last one, researching all the bioweapon stuff and being kind of like a journalist and interviewing all those people who are going to leave something out because they have a touch point with some national security thing.
Yes.
And then being able to put those pieces together like a journalist. Well, this time I did that with the cybersecurity and quantum computing world. And it was frightening. It was frightening.
Definitely weird. Now, before we get on to that, I do want to double back really quickly and mention that my director on this book, Travis Tunn, who I've worked with on all of your books, and he's an amazing guy, an amazing director. He was at his house in Mammoth or Big Bear, but he has a 62 as well. He has a 62. Awesome. So I'm the only one not driving a Land Cruiser out of this whole crew, but someday
I'm gonna change that.
But he's a terrific guy, and he's been there for all of your books. And he and I spent a lot of time talking about quantum computing and about the AI and all of that stuff. And I don't want to give anything away from the book, but it was fun giving voice to certain things.
Yes. I'm looking forward to that voice. I have not, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go to, after this, tonight I'm going to go and I'm going to go through it and get to that part just to hear that voice.
Blessedly, you were so clear about, sort of how, and that was great because
cool.
Just like, okay, this is easy. I don't have to worry about it,
Good.
But yeah, that's an element. That's a whole other element to the story. That particular, for want of a better word, character.
Mm-hmm.
So great.
Oh, thank you.
So great. So fun.
Thank you. Well, the people I talked to so I did a lot of research, and some of the books that I used for research were already outdated because things are, it's not like being, let's say, 1940 and reading a book about an automobile from 1935 or something like that, where we're kind of moving forward. But here, a span of 5 years, a span of 10 years, so much has changed. So when I'm reading something from like Edward Snowden's biography, reading that or reading a few other things from that era, that's already a decade old. And all those things have changed quite a bit. And the people that I talked to that were current, that were very careful about what they said to me. But once again, if you interview enough people, you can kind of piece things together. They all said that, hey, we could tell you more, but you want to keep this book out of the science fiction category.
Well, and it also prevents me having to say redacted a lot.
Yeah, that's done. We're done with that. You know, if I'm doing research on my own, the government doesn't get to come in and tell me what I get to say or not. Well, I mean, you know, as much as they might want to.
Yeah, well, probably. But I've always I grew up next to a strategic air command base in Indiana. And I was pretty early on familiar with the idea that if you think you're looking at stuff that's on the bleeding edge, you're up to a decade behind the 8 ball on that. I mean, you know, was the F-117 was a thing for decades before it became knowledge, you know.
Right.
So so it's got to be very interesting when you research this stuff to know who to talk to.
Yeah. Luckily, I've stumbled across some interesting characters in my time.
Yeah, your Rolodex has got to be fascinating.
I feel very fortunate to have met some interesting people that have all been extremely, extremely helpful to me, especially as I transitioned from the military to the private sector. So,
talking of the private sector, how is the television production going?
Oh, it's going. It looks good. I've seen all the, we've wrapped in August. So we wrapped in August, went into post-production, and I was involved with every iteration of that, from the director's cut to the network cut, the editor's cut, all those different cuts that you see, and then gave my timestamps with my notes and all that stuff. So we got to work, hand in hand on those to get them where they needed to be.
I got to see, a little snippet.
I know.
I don't know if that's still in or not, and it doesn't matter, but it was great just visually, because pretty early on, you get a sense of tone. And I liked that. Being familiar with the book, I liked the first little bits that I saw, and it was like, and I think that Chris Pratt is such a fine actor, and I admire him. So,
he does a great job.
It's going to be something else.
Yeah, he's going to be a surprise for people that just know him as more campy type roles and that sort of a thing. But this, getting dark and gritty and violent and physical.
I wouldn't describe Terminal List as a madcap romp.
Nope. And we added to it. I don't know if you got to see this from the the clip that you worked on. That if you got to see the psychological element, I'm not sure how far they brought that in, but
I didn't go that far in. It literally was just like
just that scene.
That the opening sort of look. But even then, the opening look, I was like, okay,
oh, nice. Yeah. Well, we added a psychological component that in telling the story visually really works. And it differentiates it, I think, from all the other straight up revenge thriller, action thriller, like all those sorts of things that are more common out there when you're looking at a show or a series on an Amazon or a Netflix or a Hulu or something like that.
Sure.
But to add this psychological component to the action political thriller really adds a different component that I think breaks it out, and the way Chris plays it is, I could not be more thrilled.
Well, again, that's something that the audience can get next to. As an audience member, I'm more easily going to gravitate towards the psychological aspect of it, because so much of the other stuff is kind of alien to me, and so it's that great way of keying in to no matter what the sort of accoutrement are, the human heart is pretty much the same. And humanity expresses itself in very similar ways across the board. So no matter what arena it's in, I can get next to that stuff. And you write that stuff so well, and it makes it easier for me to narrate your stuff. Because it's telling, it's like Shakespeare. I don't know what it's like to be the king of, whatever, but I do know what it's like to want, this thing, and everybody else does too. Yeah. And it's that humanity.
Yeah, but I think you're right. I think you talked about earlier, the everybody's this transitions in life, and we're talking about trauma, whether it's from the battlefield, whether it's from a car accident, whether it's from something as a child or whatever it might be. We're all going to have these touch points with varying levels of trauma at some point in our lives. Nobody gets out of this thing unscathed.
No.
So there is that component to it too, I think. So especially here when we're dealing with traumatic brain injury or post-traumatic stress, those things don't just come about from the military.
No,
it can be
they
a
don't.
host of things can cause those.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, for most people in bigger or smaller ways, there is the them before an event and the them after.
Yeah.
And how those two reconcile with each other is, it can create wonderful books, wonderful stories, and wonderful films. It can create a lot of sadness, and it can also create joy. But it's that big. There's those turning points.
No.
A wonderful director that I worked with years and years ago, working on a Shakespeare play together, and he said, "I will oftentimes go through a script and just look up the if onlys. Find those points in the book where if only he had said or did this, but he didn't." Or if only he had done this and he didn't, and it went this way. Or, he had a choice and he decided to go this way. If only. Look for the if onlys. And it's a wonderful thing. For an actor, kind of looking at a whole story, those turning points are wonderful because it's not some arbitrary horseshit. Can I say that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
But you can see those turning points then where you look at there's that sense of loss of if only he had said this to her, if only he had been at this place at the appointed time.
Interesting.
If only Juliet, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you can do that with any story.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's very fun.
I wrote that down. I'm going to use that. I'm actually going to, I'm going to do that when I watch the series here again. And I'm going to do that with my novels too. That's fascinating. I'm going to put that on a yellow sticky and put it on my computer. I think that's fascinating.
If only.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. I can find them in your books. Absolutely. All the way through.
Yeah.
They're big and small and microscopic in some cases, but they're there. And it's, for me as a way in to the text, I spot those and I'm able to act accordingly, if you will.
Interesting. I was talking to someone earlier today who brought up what if as his two most haunting words in the English language when put together. What if I'd done this? What if I had done that? What if? And looking back on life with too many what ifs. Yeah, that's interesting. So now I have if only, and then I have some what if.
What if I find what if to be a remarkably positive thing, as an individual, to sit and really meditate on, there's things I need to do right now. What if I did them? What if I lost that weight? What if I got better at this instrument? What if I, and for me, that's always been a real spark.
Interesting.
I think it comes from my mother saying once I was really scared about some insurmountable to me task. And she went, other people have done it. Why not you?
Yeah.
Which is great wisdom. And so a lot of times I will think, in terms of visualizing things, what if I did?
I like it.
And it's been very positive. So I do like what ifs very much too.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, it was a different context in which we're discussing it, but now I'm going to go back and revisit that conversation through that lens.
But also it's an interesting lens to look at it through. I know that it's divergent from what you were talking about, but it is an interesting lens, even as a writer or as a storyteller, to look at, when did this person say what if, and then go and make that happen.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
The arcane digging in stories.
Oh, see, there's that voice right there. My goodness. That's why everybody knows it. They're like, wait a second. I wish you'd seen the whole series, this whole 8 episodes.
Yeah, I really want to.
You're going to like it. I think you're going to like it because you're so familiar with the material and the characters, and to see what they did with it is, I think you're going to really enjoy it. So
I really want to. I can't wait.
Yeah, coming soon. Coming July 1st. So
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's going to be here before we know it, which is
fantastic.
Which is crazy. I did want to, going back to what I was saying earlier about being asked about you all the time. And people do ask about your process. And so I answer for you essentially, and say that everybody does it differently from my understanding. And part of what you do is you want the reader, the listener, to experience it for the first time, the way you would if you were sitting there reading it, rather than having read it through the first time and having notes all over here. So it's obviously the 10th time you have done it. But to read it in a way that has that excitement and enthusiasm of experiencing it for the first time. And that's what I think you do so well, and why so many, other than the amazing voice and all the things that you can do, but that enthusiasm and that excitement and that magic and that heart that you lend to every project that you do. So it's fantastic.
My allegiance, I had a conversation with an audiobook narrator recently, and we were going through like her process, and because she had asked me some questions about like how I approach work and highly technical stuff, But I said to her one point, who are you reading this for? Who are you telling this story to? And she was like, well, the listener. I said, but are you really? Mm-hmm. Because everything I hear you doing right now is you want to make sure that it is up to the standard of what you perceive the publishers want, or even the author wants, or whatever. If you're not dedicating everything that you do, heart and soul, to the single mother who's got a 30-mile commute in the morning in her Chevy Neon or Dodge Neon or whatever, and she's listening to this on a CD, then what are you doing this for? Mm-hmm. Part of the reason for my process is, that wanting it to be immediate and wanting it to be a surprise and wanting there to be that sort of intangible first time feeling to reading it, is so that the person who actually paid money for this book gets the most out of it. And for me, it is the best way of staying the hell out of the way of the text. You've heard my mailman analogy probably ad nauseum now, but the idea of, I'm not an artist, I'm a craftsperson, basically, at best. If I think in terms of my work as being a mailman, then I'm in the right slot for the kind of work I do. You have written a letter to the reader or to the listener. I broke it down one time in an interview where I said, look, if your mailman came around your house every day and knocked on the door and then opened his mailbag and pulled out a thing and said, this is from your mother, opened your mail, read it to you, and told you how you should feel about it, that would be a bad and psychotic mailman. Typically, your postal carrier comes around and you don't even know that they've been.
Yeah.
Maybe you hear your mailbox, but they're just there to deliver the correspondence from whoever wrote to you to you. If I approach my work in that same way, I find I'm in a better place, and the book seems to work a lot better for people. I'm trying to stay out of your way. You're trying to tell these people a story. And if I do my craft to the best of my ability, your letter gets delivered.
Wow. I've heard you say that you just want to get out of the way. And I think that's an incredible way to put it, in a very humble way to put it, of course, especially with you at your level and how amazing you are at these things.
Well, thank you.
Which is why you get asked to do them by so many people and across genres.
I know, and I'm really happy about that, but I firmly believe I wouldn't be at the level that I am if I didn't have that philosophy.
Yeah.
It's not false humidity. False humidity. That's going to be the name of my band. No,
hey, that's not bad.
Yeah, false humidity.
That's not bad.
It's actually pretty good.
It is.
But it's not false humidity.
Not sure what it means.
I'm not like being, like, I hate that kind of crap, know? I used to put roofs on houses. I get to sit around and pretend and make up voices. This is gravy. But I've always had a very, very strong ethic about somebody paid money to hear this story, and they deserve the absolute best that they can have. Now, since I can't trust that I'm going to be the most wonderful performer in the world, and bring all of this stuff. Why don't I just stay the hell out of the way of the text and do my job to the best of my ability? And then they'll get their money's worth. And that's the whole point. I think anything else is larcenous. If I was doing little subtle things to try to draw attention to myself based off your work, on the back of your work, I would be taking money from the listener and I'd be pissing over your work. And I'm not going to do that. So there is a real strong ethical thing to this,
Wow. No, I love that, because I think in the same terms, as far as people are trusting me with their time, and whether they're listening to the book or they're reading it, they're spending 13 hours listening to it, or however many hours it takes them to read it, or they're looking at a social media post. They're taking time out of their life to do that. They've trusted me with that time that they're never going to get back. And that's something I take extremely seriously, which is why I put as much thought into any sentence I write on social media, any sentence in the book, any guest or conversation or question on a podcast, because I want to add value to people's lives and not waste that time, because that clock is ticking.
Yeah, we don't get this time back,
which is why I sincerely appreciate you spending it with me right here.
Hey, man,
it's so fun to catch up.
It's great. It's just wonderful to hang out more than anything else.
Exactly.
We're both so busy. I keep seeing pictures where you're like, guess where I am? And I'm like, dude, guess where I am?
Oh my gosh. Are you still in the same place, or did you move
I'm in Pasadena
last year? Okay, still in Pasadena.
Pasadena, yeah. And it's great. I had to look around for an apartment, and LA is sort of the land of the soul-killing sameness apartments. So I found this place that's an old house from the turn of the 20th century that they divvied up into apartments. And it's weird. It's funky. Like, I was actually, the room that this sort of blanket fort is built in, I moved a set of curtains, and there was an old medicine chest just in the wall.
Whoa.
There, and so it obviously has been reconfigured. I love that. Yeah. I love the randomness of that.
Yeah. Pasadena, I love it out there.
Fine. Yeah. Pasadena is a great place. It's mostly good. I mean, LA's a loud city, so I tend to record late at night because there's less sort of ambient activity.
Got it.
I think Pasadena PD knows when I hit record, because then they decide to come and orbit their helicopter over the house. And so I have to stop, obviously.
Yeah, it could work out in my novels, actually, if that comes in, as a sound effect in a couple of different places. So you never know. We might want to save that. Save that.
Yes,
cut.
I'll cue the helicopter. Exactly. I don't think anywhere in your books the grocery truck that pulls up and blows the horn that plays La Cucaracha. I don't know if that's going to work anywhere in your books.
Interesting. I'm going to have to think about that for the next one. I'm working on book 6 right now. So
okay, well, we'll try to incorporate that in there.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. That's going to be at the forefront of my mind now going forward.
Yeah. If only, and La Cucaracha.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Be there. Yeah.
Have to use it for cover or something. Gosh, so you're starting late at night. So how many hours are you doing before? Do you have a number of hours that you go, and then no matter how you're feeling, you stop, or do you just go until exhaustion, or how do you do it?
Well, no, I don't. I mean, it's diminishing returns. There's you could work until you're falling asleep at the microphone, but you're not bringing your best at that point. Typically, what I have found my ceiling to be is 2 hours finished audio, a little more sometimes. But really, after that, it's diminishing returns. To get to those 2 hours can take 5 hours or 6 hours sometimes, because we're talking about 2 hours finished, 2 hours recorded in the can. So there's stopping for helicopters, there's stopping for mistakes, there's stopping because my stomach has decided it would like to have a vocal track. There's, there's a million different variables. Just the fact that your voice kind of moves around from day to day, and how, and how you're feeling and how you're sounding and all that stuff. So it can take a while. It also depends very much on how the book flows. There are some books that I just go and I'm gunning and I'm gunning and I'm gunning. And I go, well, I should probably take a break. And I've got, an hour already in the can. It's like, whoa, and there's others where it's like, oh, this has got to have been 2 hours and it's been 35 minutes. And it doesn't say anything about the writing, but it's about how it flows, there's certain books that are very, very challenging in terms of, this. There are some books that seem almost written to be spoken. and there are others that are written to be read, and that's a very, very different sort of it's a very different thing. Visually, looking at the way a sentence is constructed and that kind of thing, like the stuff that it hits in your mind, can be wonderful and delicious and great. Try speaking it.
Got it.
There are some writers, not you, but there are some writers who stylistically, they'll have a sentence that goes and goes and goes and goes to the point where you feel like you need gills, just to keep breath in your body while you're reading it out loud. So you have to choose, like, when can I take a break for breath without it becoming a dramatic pause when it shouldn't be, stuff like just a million different little tiny things.
Yeah.
So it varies wildly. So when people ask me, how long does it take you to finish a book? It's like, depends on how long the book wants me there. There's some books that you're going to be there for a while.
Yeah.
And there are others that the story just gets told.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I heard somewhere, I have no idea if this is true or not, that, but it sounds like it could be, that Christopher Walken started asking for his scripts without any punctuation.
I can see that. I can see that. Yeah. I mean,
I mean, when you think about it,
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of actors who, there's a lot of little tiny internal choices that are made, and maybe you don't want the screenwriter to tell you when to take a pause. I can tell you, as a narrator, also, as an actor as well, like doing Shakespeare, obviously there's been editors who've been making money on Shakespeare for hundreds of years. What he meant in King Lear with this line is this. Well, no, he didn't. Did you ever actually act the scene? No. And so there's the theoretical discussion of what it is, and there's the actual performing it in a room with people who've decided to come and believe this thing for 3 hours.
Got it.
And oftentimes, never the twain shall meet. Okay. And so I ignore entirely what editors say. There's oftentimes you'll get a script of Shakespeare, whatever edition it is, and there'll be 30 pages of the editor's analysis of it. And I just cut it. I don't even look at it.
Yeah.
And I know that some actors are bothered by punctuation. Don't tell me when to take a pause. I know when best organically within the process to take a pause.
Oh, interesting.
Or to stop for things. So I can see why he would do it. It's not something I would ever do.
Yeah.
But I can see why he would do that.
And it might not be real. It might just be people listening to his voice and saying, he probably took out all the punctuation.
Well, his phrasing is pretty unique, but no, and you do learn to play. I do it all the time. Like, you probably heard it in your book, where I ignore a period, the end of a sentence. I won't pause. I'll just drive on through into the next one, and it's been hard explaining it to editors where they're like, yeah, but there's a period there. And I'm like, I know, but the needs of the scene in that moment. Yeah, but there's a period there. Yeah, but there's and trying to get that across.
It sounds like they'd be best served to just let you do your thing at this point. Like, here you go.
Well, no, and I listen, I prefer supervision. I really do. But I also honestly, I take any opportunity to defend my choices with a piece of text as valuable learning stuff, because I'm probably not right, and if I am, great, but I might not be. And, it's a chance to learn. So yeah, it's you kind of play fast and loose with certain bits of punctuation. I will tell you, my main sort of bugbear, and you're not an offender of this, so you're in the clear. But
I'm going to take a note anyway.
Adverbs.
Yes, the adverb.
Adverbs.
Yeah,
they're great sometimes.
Yeah,
not all the time.
Not all the time. Yeah.
Where are you going? She said inquisitively.
Right.
I'm leaving. He said frostily.
Yeah.
Well, why? She said jumpily.
Yeah.
He said, it's time to go, redundantly. And it's like I compare it to cowbell in rock and roll music.
Hey, more cowbell. We just talked about Christopher Walken.
More cowbell, exactly. Or like dill in cooking. Just the right amount of dill.
Not too much.
It's a great sort of flavor. You cross that line, everything tastes like a pickle.
Interesting. I am cognizant of that because I do catch myself doing it, and I ask the question, is this necessary? Kind of like with the description. How much do I want to describe, or how much do I want to leave to the reader to
Precisely.
fill in with things maybe that they're comfortable with, or that they know, with the color of a wall or a desk, or, because everybody's going to have that slightly different scene in their head if I leave certain things out. But it allows them to fill it in and become a part of the story.
Exactly. And that to me is, if you have constructed a scene in such a way that this dialogue is occurring, I'm going to know that she says something icily without you having to say.
Yes.
And that, I don't know. It's funny. I think that in some cases it's habit. I think in some cases, maybe the writer doesn't necessarily trust that their intended meaning is going to get across. And so they use that to kind of help or whatever. Yeah. But they can really clang after a while. They're a bit extraneous.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't resent it necessarily, but it's a little like the author going, say the line this way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And if the scene or if the dialogue is such that, I know what's happening in the scene and I know how humans interact, why would I need them?
Exactly.
So
I am cognizant of that. And sometimes I do go back and I start taking things out. If I think
you're good about that. Much. Believe me, you're fine. I've checked. No, you're fine.
Oh man, that's so fantastic. And you, I was going to ask you also, because you're talking about how much time you're spending and how much time it takes to get to your 2 hours, being different with each book. Do you take lemon, or do you have something that you drink, or do you do an else throat lozenge, or you do anything like that? Is there anything that you do as you're going through this?
I'm pretty terrible. I think I probably read books like a guy who used to put roofs on houses in Indiana. I vape. I I'll drink a Diet Coke. I mean, I'll drink water sometimes. I do have, for really trouble sometimes, I do have this throat spray, which is, oh yeah, product placement. I can actually do.
You can do it too.
Yeah, exactly. It might be a good weapon in a pinch.
Oh yeah, you can use anything as a weapon.
Yeah, that's true. Singer's soothing throat spray, professional drink.
There you go.
It tastes like you're licking a wooden gym floor after a sock hop. But
well, I might not be thrilled with that endorsement. We were doing so well there.
Damn, I'm going to get a cease and desist.
Yeah,
but it does actually help.
It does do the job.
Yeah, and a lesson I learned from a while ago. I mean, water in all things. Water always. You should hydrate. I don't care what you're doing. You need to be. I promise you're underhydrated.
Yeah,
if you're an American living in 2022, you're underhydrated. But for vocal performing, too much water is a bad thing because you're actually stripping your vocal cords. You want that. This is going to get gross, but you want that little layer of mucus.
Okay.
So sometimes I'll have an apple juice.
Nice.
That kind of thing. I mean, fizzy drinks are probably not the best idea just because of the inherent after effects while you're trying to talk.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I just had my second bout of COVID.
Oh, second bout.
Yeah. I went to a Comic-Con in England and brought back a souvenir.
Yeah.
And boy, this one hit hard. I had it back before it was.
Yeah. So it was, for sure it was 2.
It was definitely 2 because the first time that I had it was as my I've got a really, really good friend, a brilliant actor named Derek Whedon, and he's one of my best friends. Spent a lot of his childhood in Panama. His dad was Army MP, but he said, "Yeah, you had it back when it was weapons grade." I was like, "Yeah, I had it before it was cool." Wow. I had it in like December of 2020. Like early
2019. You mean?
2019, I think. Wow. Yeah.
And so before we even really knew about it, January 2020 was.
I had it. No, I'd say it was like December. I can't remember exactly. I know it was was it in December? I've no idea now. Never mind. I had it a long time ago before there was a vaccine.
Yeah.
Nobody knew much about it and everybody was frightened.
Okay.
And so I lived in terror for days. I also had a weird neurological thing attendant with it, which was just bizarre. And I've read online of a few other people who've had a very similar thing to what I had, but it scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
But I got through it. and was basically fine. And then I got, all the relevant shots, and did all that stuff. Went over to this Comic-Con, came back, and brought it home. And this second bout was violent, really, really harsh for about 4 days. And then it kind of went away. But there's lingering effects of it. And so I'm on deadlines. I've got books to finish. So I'm trying to narrate through COVID.
Wow.
And there are some day, the first day that I tried, it was just a wash because it was like all you can hear are my sinuses, and that this isn't, helping anybody. But once I was able to be somewhat close to my normal voice, I had work to get done. I had no choice, and so there was some, this stuff was a savior. Obviously various medicines and plenty of fluids, and all that. And I was able to get through it, but it was challenging.
Wow.
Yeah. So, wear a mask when you listen to those chapters in that book where I had COVID. Because it could seep through. But yeah.
I don't even know. What did I even ask you?
I don't even know.
I don't even know either. I certainly didn't ask you if you had COVID.
I'm like the captain of you ask me what time it is and I tell you how to make a watch.
I got COVID.
You were asking me about like what sort of like, do I drink a lot of water? Do I lozenges and that sort of thing?
The mucus layer.
Mucus layer.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff that's very beneficial to it. I mean, I'm sure you get called on to speak a lot of times, and things like there's these little weird elderflower pastilles that are great. Interestingly, a hack that an old Shakespeare actor that I knew used, and it worked perfectly for him, was those butterscotch candies, the round ones?
I may be familiar.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Great for your voice. Great for your voice.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
The thing is, it's whatever works for you.
Yeah. Gosh. And what else do you do to remember which character has which accent or voice intonation, or do you have anything that you do? You put when you see the name, or how do you remember that so and so? If I haven't mentioned that they have a thick Russian accent in a few pages, how do you remember and not mess that up?
Well, sometimes I'll just make a choice based on what I'm reading about the character, and it seems. Sometimes I'm fortunate in that that's the correct sort of sound for them. Other times, not so much. It kind of depends. I see people's faces when I read the book. And when I see their face, there's really only one way that they could talk.
Wow.
So if it's a character that's been in the books before, I remember what they look like. And if I remember what they look like in my head, it's very weird. But if I remember what they look like in my head, I know what they sound like.
Wow.
You did, however, pick the one dialect that's like one of the hardest for me, which is South African.
That or Rhodesian, I throw that in there. Rhodesian, it's a little different, yes, exactly. A tiny bit different.
A little bit different, but important, because there will be somebody who is Rhodesian who will be like, that wasn't right.
Exactly. There you go. Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio did a really good job with that in Blood Diamond. He made it different than a South African accent. Like he went above and beyond to. I found
the hack for that is to be sloppy with it. Seriously though, nobody speaks. If someone speaks really precisely, it's uncanny valley time. It doesn't register right.
Yeah.
If stuff is just sort of tossed off and words are flown over and that sort of thing, that's a natural way of speaking.
Yeah.
I remember once, I only know one phrase in Russian, and I happened to be standing near some Russian college students outside of a bar in Oregon.
Hey.
And they were talking in Russian. And at one point they looked over at me like I was eavesdropping or something.
Yeah.
And I said to them in Russian, the only phrase I know, which is, I don't understand Russian.
That's I thought you were going to say Das Vidanya at least. Come on.
No. I was just like, извините, я не понимаю по-русски.
Whoa, that's pretty good. That's next level.
Well, but the thing is, I was sloppy as hell with it.
Uh-huh.
And because I was sloppy as hell with it, the one kid looked at me and he's like, you have no accent when you say, and it was like, yeah, of course I don't, because people on the street aren't that attentive to the ends of words and the way this consonant, it's just street talk. So if you're casual with a dialect, it
Yeah.
will be more convincing than if you work on the precision of it.
Got it.
It sounds stilted if you're like
Yeah.
being super, super precise. So I'm sloppy as hell with dialects, and they ultimately end up sounding a lot more accurate.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Ah,
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's why you narrated the #1 award-winning audiobook of last year,
Audiobook of the year.
Yeah.
Project Hail Mary.
Yeah. Incredible.
That was so
Jeez.
fun.
And not only that, like I was, because I knew that, because I texted you or emailed you when that happened.
Yeah.
But there's,
I had never won one before too.
we were there together, and I think
right, I
Ruth
know,
Ware
exactly.
won, and we'll give it.
Oh, exactly.
But yeah, so that best audiobook of the year, amazing. And then you have this other one, same one, audiophile best of 21. Then you have Charlotte's Web Audio Award 2020. I mean, all these awards here.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of the awards I've won have been multicast things where I was like Charlotte's Web. I was a very small part of that book. Sandman for Dirk Maggs in England and Neil Gaiman. I played about 14 different characters in that. So it wins an award, but it's not, you winning the award. You're part of the ensemble that did. And I've been very proud of those, but I've never won an individual, hey, you did real good. Here's a statue thing for you. And so this year for Project Hail Mary, I got Best Sci-Fi and Audiobook of the Year. And they sent me the trophies and stuff.
Hey,
I got them in the house. So.
Nice. That's very cool. That is very cool. Oh gosh, you had so much going on. I wanted to ask you, so before I let you go, because I know you have to go and narrate something.
I know, I'd rather just hang out and talk
and,
about trucks with you all day.
Let's go talk some more Land Cruisers. Yeah, I got to talk you into getting one.
Oh, dude.
What changed after Darkseid came out and hit? Because I saw your follower account certainly jump on Twitter in an hour.
Yeah, you remember there was like your fans were following me on Twitter.
Yeah, it's great.
I had maybe like 1,500 Twitter followers, and now I'm up into like 68,000.
Crazy, huh?
Well, it's movies, Yeah, a lot changed. My life changed in really wonderful ways after that. And that was a very funny sort of the way that all came about. I was in England when they were shooting Justice League, and Zack, who I knew, just personally,
Zack Snyder, for those listening, with Justice League.
Sorry,
Snyder Cut.
Yeah,
yes.
We'll just pick that name up off the floor.
Yeah.
No, but Zack Snyder, who I would love for you to meet him. He is the best guy, and working for him as a director, there are few directors that I would literally do anything for, and Zack Snyder is one of them.
Amazing.
He's just a good person. Yeah. And so good at what he does, and a great storyteller. I admire him, love him, and would work for him under any circumstances, truly.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, so Zack, who I had known for a while, and he didn't know, because I don't rep, I'm an actor and a narrator. I don't do that stuff, I'm just me. But he found out I narrate audiobooks, and he likes to hear a script rather than sit and read it. Fade in, exterior, looking at a script, what that format is.
Now I do.
He likes to hear that rather than sit and just read it. So he brought me in to read when they would do big rewrites or when there were changes or things like that. He would bring me in to read to him, and it would be in the office with him and Chris Terrio and often Deborah, the producer, also his wife. And sometimes they would bring in actors who were living in London, American actors, to fill out the roles. But he likes to hear it. So I read it to him. And there was basically one day, as he describes it, I didn't remember it like this, but he said he basically passed me in the hall, and there was a CGI image of Darkseid. And he said, "What do you think this guy would sound like?" And I just, on the fly, kind of opened up my throat and did this sound. And he was like, "Yeah, cool." That was it.
Wow.
And then 2 weeks later, somebody else came and went, "Oh, hey, by the way, you're playing Darkseid."
Wow.
Like, whoa. And then, of course, the whole journey with, Zack leaving because of what happened with Autumn, the tragedy with his family, and Mr. Whedon taking over for and reshooting everything, and fans not being happy with the result of the 2017 release and feeling like there was something missing. And this is all because of the fans. The only reason why I get to go to Comic-Cons and sign things and do stuff is entirely because of the fans being very vocal and very positive about wanting to see Zack's story told. And so, I filmed some mocap, and then motion capture, where you're in a black lycra suit with these little reflective balls, and they film it, and then they use the data from the joints from where it moves to create CGI movement.
Yeah.
Me and Kieran Hines one day are standing in our black lycra suits, and I was like, this is not an image anyone needs to see. We look like the HR department for ninjas. But anyway, so we did that, and then I did face capture, which is you're wearing a whole different set of pajamas and this head rig with a camera and a light right in your eye.
Oh, geez.
And they're only catching this, so that the muscular of your mouth and your eyes and your expressions and things like that can be worked into the computer-generated image of the character. And then, of course, there's the voice stuff, the vocal sessions that I did, which went on until when Zack announced that it would be showing on HBO Max. He contacted me and said, we need to do to do a refresh of this line and all of this. Would you mind just recording it at home? So I did. And there's actually one of my final sort of speeches in the movie. I say the lines up to this one sentence, and then I say the next sentence, and there's 5 years between those two sentences.
Wow. That's wild.
Yeah.
Jeez. And how many hours did that end up being on HBO Max?
It's 4 hours long with breaks in between. You can take, intermissions, and all of that, which is very smart. And I got to see it in IMAX actually, which was really fun. So I got to hear my voice like rumbling through. But it has turned into this thing. And I didn't know a lot about comic books at all. I always appreciated them and respected them, but it was never really my thing.
Right.
And I've been welcomed into this world of people who are so knowledgeable and so passionate about this stuff. And I go to Comic-Cons and meet people and it's so funny. People will say, I'm so grateful that you came. It's like, you don't understand. You're the reason I'm here.
Exactly.
I should be thanking you. And yeah, it's funny. I go and talk to people and sign toys, and
wow, it's amazing.
It's wonderful, but it's very odd.
Yeah.
Very fun though. And I have so many people when I'm at those Comic-Cons, coming up and wanting a signed Darkseid picture or a signed Darkseid Funko or whatever. I can't tell you how many people have come up with copies of the Terminal List.
Oh, wow.
Or yes. Also Andy Weir's book, Project Hail Mary. I sign tons of audiobook stuff.
Oh, it's so great.
And a lot of it is yours. When I was in Colorado Springs, I had so many people coming up with Jack Carr books,
so
for
great.
me to sign.
So great. Wow. Amazing. Well,
so it's out there,
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I saw your following just go through the roof, and
what is going on?
Oh, it's so great. It's so great.
And you'll notice, there's a real responsibility with that. I'm sure you had to grapple with that too. With suddenly, there's a lot of people aware of you, and they may, in some cases, have a sense of ownership. I mean, you and I spoke about that thing that happened, a while back. There was a film that Ava DuVernay did that I thought was unbelievable as far as a filmmaker and the work that she did. I admire Ava DuVernay a lot anyway, her work. And this film that she did, I thought was brilliant. It happened to be centered around a character that is a person who is problematic for a lot of people. And I posted a thing and said, this is a masterpiece, And apparently people didn't take that right. And I was getting threatened. I was getting physically threatened.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's what it is. It's what it is. And that doesn't have anything to do with you. It's just, it was people that got to know me through loving your books. And they have their own stuff, but I was worried because I didn't want any of that to splash back on you. And so that was why I reached out and was like, hey, just in case I did this thing, I'm not trying to be politically problematic or anything. I just admired this person's work.
Yeah.
But people took it this way. And your words to me at that time were very, very well placed and needed.
I appreciate
so thank you for that.
Well, thank you for being so thoughtful.
Well, I was just worried. I didn't want,
No worries. It's the world of social media is an interesting animal. That's for sure. And if you're up there and you're a public figure on it, I mean, it's easy to take shots. You're an easy target.
I've gotten to the point now where I don't say anything other than just positive stuff.
Oh yeah. I try to keep it positive, add value, that sort of a thing. Social media doesn't really lend itself to being a place to debate the ideas of our time or anything like that.
No, and I think too many people confuse social media with reality, and it's not.
It's a snapshot.
Absolutely. There was a great comedian, I can't remember his name right now, who said, politics is show business for ugly people.
I've heard that. I've heard that. I forget who said that, but yeah.
But if you think about it, it's there's a real performative aspect to social media for everyone. Mm-hmm. It's very egalitarian. Doesn't matter who you are. Here's your spotlight and you can perform. And that's led to a lot of very interesting things. So all I try to do is just increase positivity. I had somebody come after me because they felt politically very different from me.
Yeah.
And they wanted to make a thing of it. And I was like, yeah, I honestly, I'd rather just talk about the things you and I both love.
Yeah. How about that? Let's find some common ground. Yeah.
And the guy had nothing. And he was like, yeah, you're right. Because why?
I know. Why? Once again, we have that limited time and that time is ticking and you get to choose how you're going to spend that time.
Exactly. And also what a loss.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he's a great guy,
Yeah.
Okay. I don't feel the same way he does about how he votes. Cool. He might also like avocados. I hate avocados. That's not a reason to not recognize him as a person.
Yeah.
Come on.
You might like Land Cruisers. You might both like Land Cruisers. I mean, who knows?
I love Land Cruisers.
Yeah. Land Cruiser people are pretty cool. I
bet they are.
It's a good community. Yeah. Most everybody I've ever met that is a Land Cruiser owner has just been super, super chill, laid back, kind, and fun to be around.
I would expect that.
Yeah.
I would absolutely expect that. And it's stuff like that, honestly, that reminds me that people have lost family relationships over something as ephemeral and ultimately pointless as politics. Why are we fighting about this stuff? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a crazy time, and social media sure doesn't help.
It doesn't help. It's like you like the things you like. I like the things I like. Let's leave that alone. Let's talk about Land Cruisers. Let's talk about dogs. Let's talk about anything else, because that to me is what's gold.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be on my deathbed regretting that I didn't get that point across.
I wish I'd left one more negative review on Amazon.
I should have said this.
I wonder who says that on their deathbed. Somebody may have. You never know. There's some crazy people out there. But yeah, what a way
sad. Yeah, exactly.
What a way to live. Oh,
their
man.
Their tombstone just has one star.
One star.
One star.
Oh. That's brutal. That's pretty brutal. Yeah. Oh, there's some people that take that pretty seriously. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But they're fun. I like to read those negative reviews and turn them into positives.
There's always a negative review. I'll go on Audible just to kind of see how a book is doing.
Yeah.
Particularly if I care about it, like yours. There's always one
negative
review.
Oh, yeah. People can't help it. People can't help it. That's okay.
In a weird way, though, like with audiobooks, and I don't know if the same is true with your readership. I'm sure that it is, but I've noticed that with audiobooks, people really do have a strong sense of ownership and the right to voice their issues, but also the things they liked and all of that. I love it. I think that's great. To have an audience that's that engaged.
Yeah.
I think it's marvelous, whether they approve or not.
Yeah.
I think it's terrific.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you, Simon & Schuster is very happy. Let's just say with
I'm very glad
with everything, but with the audiobooks in particular.
I'm very glad.
I get comments all the time from them about how amazing you are and how incredible the audio side is doing, and they couldn't be more thrilled, and I couldn't be more thrilled, and I couldn't be more thrilled to call you a friend, and so glad we got to meet up in New York and do that before everything shut down.
I mean, that's the other great thing about audiobooks, again, is that I have the privilege of calling someone like you friend, and it really is a privilege, and I'm grateful for that. It's when would we have ever met otherwise?
Yeah. I mean, and hopefully we'll get to do a lot more together.
It's great.
Again,
this stuff has afforded me the opportunity to do things that really matter. I went to the EOD banquet.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Oh God, it was such an
remember
amazing.
You texted me beforehand and
oh man, I'm in a movie. I've got an action figure and I'm the least cool person in the room.
Nice. Yeah.
It was a whole night of like, oh, so why are you here? Yeah, so I played a really bad guy in this big blockbuster Hollywood movie. How about you? Oh, I'm retired Navy. Now I do Halo jumps training for people.
Yeah.
Okay, dude, fine. I'm just going to go sit down over here.
Oh, stop. I'm sure they love talking to you. And that's very cool. You go down there. That's just awesome.
Yeah. But that's, again, if I wasn't doing what I was doing, it wouldn't afford me the opportunity to meet people and get to know people in that way. And I love that. I'm immensely grateful for it. And that's the overwhelming thing with all of it is just gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
I'm grateful I get to do your work. I'm grateful that I get to do this at all.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful that you write so well.
Oh, thank you.
Because it would be harder if you.
It would be much more difficult. Yes,
it'd be much more troublesome if you sucked. And you don't. So
thank you. I get up each day and feel that same gratitude to be doing this, doing something I love, having my mission of taking care of my family and my passion of writing coming together, and having the work resonate with people. And I just couldn't.
And what wonderful adventures it's brought you, and experiences, and that's great.
Yeah.
It's a marvelous thing.
I feel so fortunate. So fortunate. But before I let you go,
yes, sir.
What you can't tell me about this movie, but I'll find out eventually.
Yes.
And then, other than that, are you still going to auditions? Do people call you? You have more books in the hopper, just coming in constantly.
I have so many books in the hopper. I said yes to too many things, and they're all happening.
I have that same issue. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all wanted on the same day.
Boy.
It's like, I'm sorry, physics is a reality. I can't. Although at the quantum level, I could.
Exactly.
But I can't, I don't really have a quantum computer in the house just yet.
Yeah.
Or do I?
Dun, dun, dun.
But very, very busy with the books. Auditions are a constant, which is great. I just picked up I did a really fun gig playing a guru on 911.
Nice.
Yeah, that was very fun. I'm in an upcoming episode of Naomi on the CW, which is a really well done thing. This movie that I can't talk about. I might be appearing at a Comic-Con near you, at some point. And I'm just staying busy.
Does Salt Lake have a Comic-Con? I think we do.
I don't know if they do. I'd love it if they did.
To look that up.
I think they do.
I think you may be right.
Yeah, it'd be great. Any chance to hang out.
Yes. Let's do it.
Yes. Just bought an electric bike or a pedal assist bike.
Hey, that's the way to go.
I need to do something. And the great thing about a pedal assist is that, you climb a hill and you feel like you climbed a hill, but you don't feel like killing yourself.
Yeah. You don't feel like you're about to go right over.
Right. Exactly. You don't, exactly. You don't want to be, hung, with a drip, like at the top of the hill. So the pedal assist is great. And it's because I got to do something. There's a certain aspect to this gig that is entirely too sedentary. So I
understand.
Got to address that.
I understand that.
Yeah. So, I need to address that. But other than that, I'm that, and I'm, constantly trolling Craigslist and Auto Trader for FCJ80s.
There you go. There you go.
Life is good. I take my kid to hockey practice, and
perfect.
I get to read really cool books. So
awesome. Well, I'm going to let you get back to it. And
all right, my friend.
Thank you so much for doing this, for narrating the books, for bringing a whole other fan base. I think that my future, my station in life, everything that's happened would be quite a bit different if you had not narrated these books. So I can't ever repay that. And
brother,
I sincerely
it's my
appreciate
absolute privilege. My absolute privilege.
Man.
And I'm looking forward to the release of this new one. It's such a good book.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun for people.
I appreciate that. Yeah. And I can't wait to get you book 6. So that's coming in.
Let's go.
I'm on it.
I'll keep the mic warm.
All right. Thank you so much. We'll take care, and we'll hopefully I'll see you soon. Navy Federal Credit Union.
I've actually been a member since 1996, the year that I joined the Navy. And Navy Federal Credit Union wants to thank the men and women in the U.S. military for their important commitment to our country. For more than 85 years, Navy Federal Credit Union has made it their mission to help people in the military community. Navy Federal Credit Union is open to all branches of the military, veterans, and their families. Navy Federal's employees are veterans and military spouses, so they're part of the community they serve, and they understand their members better than anyone. Members can enjoy an average earning and savings of $352 per year, a savings rate 3 times the industry average. An average credit card, APR 5% lower than the industry average, award-winning 24/7 stateside member service, over 350 branches worldwide. Show your own support for our troops with hashtag Mission Military Thanks. Learn more about how Navy Federal is celebrating the commitment that connects them to their members at NavyFederal.org/celebrate. And I also have to read that this is insured by NCUA. Dollar value represents the results of the 2020 Navy Federal Member Give Back Study. Value claim based on Navy Federal's 2020 Member Give Back Study. Credit card value claim based on 2020 Navy Federal as low as APR averages compared to advertised industry APR averages as of December 31st, 2020, published on creditcards.com. Thanks so much. Check out NavyFederal.org. I want to thank my friends at Black Rifle Coffee for sponsoring the Danger Close podcast. I've been a huge fan for the longest time. Drink Black Rifle Coffee every day. And if you keep your eyes peeled, you will notice that perhaps Chris Pratt is wearing a Black Rifle Coffee t-shirt, not unsimilar to this one, in the Amazon series adaptation of The Terminal List. Now you can go to blackriflecoffee.com/dangerclose and use code DangerClose20 at checkout for 20% off your purchase and your first coffee club order. Black Rifle Coffee, America's coffee. Keep crushing. Thank you so much to Sig Sauer for jumping right on board out of the gate to make this podcast possible. Obviously, I am a huge Sig fan, having carried the P226 on every deployment downrange in the SEAL teams. But Sig was a supporter. They were friends well before I was a New York Times bestselling author, well before I even had an Instagram account or any social media presence whatsoever. So thank you guys all so much. Ron, Tom, Jason, everybody at SIG who gets up every day and continues to crush it and lead the way. SIG is always adapting. They're always at the forefront, whether it is firearms for citizens, whether it's firearms for our military, ammo, suppressors, optics, training, fire control units. They are doing it all, and they're always pushing that envelope and trying to do it better each and every day through innovation and adaptation. They crush. So thank you so much for that friendship and support. It will never be forgotten. Welcome to the gear highlight portion of the Danger Close podcast. All right. Black Rifle Coffee Vintage Roast. If you are not signed up for their exclusive coffee subscription club, go to that website, blackriflecoffee.com, and check them out. And you might even catch some Black Rifle in the pages of In the Blood, which is out now. Hardcover ebook and audiobook. Check this thing out. Man, Ballistic Magazine, Athlon Outdoors. They sent me this. So it's Ballistic's Best 2021 Editors Select Best Tactical Fiction Author. So check that out. That is so cool. You see it right there. Yep. That thing is awesome. That is a solid award. And thank you guys so much. And Ballistic Magazine, Athlon Outdoors, they have been so kind to me over the years, well before I was a published author or had a series coming to Amazon Prime Video with Chris Pratt. So they've just been amazing over the years. And bam, look at that. Ballistic's Best right there. Athlon Outdoors right there. So Nick and the whole crew out there at Ballistic and Athlon, thank you so much. Can't tell you how much that means to me. Thank you for tuning in to the Danger Close podcast, an Ironclad original presented by Navy Federal Credit Union. You can follow Ray Porter on Twitter at Ray_Porter, and you can listen to him narrate in the blood. You can listen to him narrate all my novels. What an amazing guy. If you want to follow me on the social channels, you can do so at Jack Carr USA. You can go to officialjackcarr.com. That's the website, or you can go to jackcarrusa.com for the merch. If you like this conversation, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to subscribe on YouTube. Until the next time, take care out there. Be safe. Stay strong. Keep fighting.